Speaking in tongues. So people are confused about what speaking in tongues means. Well, not only is it possible for you to understand the true meaning of somebody speaking to you in another language entirely, but it's difficult. But speaking in tongues is a triplicated language, okay? It uses 3 communication methods simultaneously to produce one output or input, and it's of a selection type that you do in coordination with another individual or group when you are beginning your conversation. For example, speaking in tongues could be a combination of using a root language set that is verbal, but also a keyed set that is through the eyes, eye contact, along with a combination of sign language cryptos. Okay? For example, if I was to use those 3 to you, I would key through my eyes like this. Okay? I would allow you a key. Okay? And then I would do my sign language key. Ta ko o chi o tu ko fu cho no ji a pu ka na ha chi ko fu na ma na ha he ho to shu o ki o ko o chi o e o ko fu a. Then I would speak, because then the speech would be audibly understandable to you. For example, mada ida oko mochi amokitawana hafa chewaka emana chewakida mata ichika ofuka moku iwatikitaga moku chewakita hata ofuka mowa naka ewo shika mokitevoka mokitiwata mata ewata kawa ifaka mowati atawa kichimonana hado okamoche hado mata efushu mokita hado kawa. So that's the end of that demo. If you were able to key in, the method by which that key is carried is through a mechanism of spirit. And it requires faith to even do that. So for you scientists who are like, I don't understand, man. Some of you got it and some of you didn't. Well, you need to work on that faith element. Like I've previously said, the element of faith and growing it is a highly scientific procedure, man. Okay? You do predictable things which grow it, and you get predictable growth of it. It's a repeatable experiment, and it comports with the scientific method entirely. If you don't think so, then do an honest experiment of it. It might scare the shit out of you, but you're gonna know for sure. You're also gonna know I'm telling the truth. Okay? So, if you're going back and looking at videos where I've done this method of communication and you don't understand, well, it's not keyed for you. Okay? There's a lot of you who do understand. Okay? Because it was keyed right for you. And you were watching that and watching other people being confused as shit in the room and like, don't you understand him? And they didn't. And that was confusing to you because you did. So it's one of those things that's interesting. So if you're wondering also, well, who's my audience? Who am I talking to? It's a combination of several groups, man. Number one, I'm under very thorough audit, InterPrincipality level right now. They have core read on me, and they're looking at every damn little thing I've ever done. Everything. Okay? And that extends into pre-existence also. They're looking at all of it. Okay? And when I say InterPrincipality level, I'm talking about physicality here, universally. But it also extends extra universally. And it also extends beyond creation into higher order. Okay? Higher order spans that which is in creation and that which is not. So you're getting into old heaven and new heaven, which technically are not in creation at all. So that's another thing that's kind of messing up scientists right now, is they want to go find where this place is. You can't get there, dude. You're not composited for it, not yet. And that was a specific question coming through Labient, is okay, when you're talking about composited, you're talking about compositions of compositions of paradigm set groups, right? And those of your being which you have, right? Correct. So when I say that when I went to the army I got recomposited, well, they did. They recomposited me for military configurations that have been around for a long time. And when I say that, oh, well, we go and do operations and we go and do these things, usually what that consists of is either a conscious or an unconscious keying into other composites of mine, which are on standby, and then we go and actually do things. Okay? So when I say we go and we were in a vicious battle, but you have observation on me here and I never left the house. Well, we were in vicious battles, I just didn't use this composite. This is not hard to understand, man. This is one of the things that was explained to John Cameron. This is where he got his idea for Avatar entirely, man. There are both machines that can interface you with a composite, kind of like what you see in Avatar, except not that fantastical. They just left it up to his imagination and he came up with that shit. They're very actually minimal level things. You can put one in a hat, for example, and this hat actually does have those. Okay? That's why I wear it all the time. You can put it in anything, and it's a very minimal level device. It's just an abstraction layer interface with a transmitter and a receiver in it. It's very minimal. Okay? As far as typically, like if you're recompositive, say if you're in SOC or usually they'll do this to you in SOC, and they'll do this to you, they can do it with an MRI machine. They can do it with a bone scan machine. Mine was with a bone scan because it was quite thorough. The recompositing procedure it's kind of clunky with the military. They do it at a nuclear level. The compositing interprincipality is sub-quantum 16th quantum level, and so it's a lot smoother. But there are a lot of composites walking around here on Earth, for example. You would know them as just everyday people and shit, but they're not from here, man. They're walking, talking fucking aliens. And you can go and you can evaluate them medically and they'll pass human entirely. But they're not. They're composites from other places, man. You may see this especially with those in support staffs around U.S. government officials, for example. You could even take them and execute them as spies, but you're not actually killing the root individual. Okay. So people want to know, well, if you're talking about composites, who are you composite with right now? I'm composite with me before, me current, which is this. I am the root level individual here. You waste me, you waste me. Which is why you fucking get killed every time you try. There's other composites that I have which look just like me, and they're always dressed like me. I have spiritual composites. I have many composites, man, because I've got to do a lot of things. I have a composite of me that tends to, or 3 composites of me that tend to nursery functions and fathering children. And I have other composites which I won't mention. But just the basic level idea of it is you have the brain capacity, and everyone does, to operate multiple consciousness streams all the time. And I do. Okay? A lot of you do too. It's just you don't understand that that's what you're doing. For a lot of people, you may daydream, for example, and literally understand yourself to be in a different place entirely. Maybe even in a different time entirely. That's because you are. Okay? Especially if it's ultra vivid and you're understanding senses and you're getting sensory feedback, and you know, and there's people that you know and love and understand, and you've never met them before. Well, shit, man. There's another aspect to this that's interesting, that sometimes people of heart transplants will understand, and they'll know this is the case when I say it. Sometimes if you get a heart transplant in particular a heart transplant, you will have memories and experiences and understandings of things you never did. Well, that's because you are picking up on a core read of composites other than you. Okay? And there are composites other than you, especially bound to that, or composited with that organ, that are still alive. And so you're getting an overlap read of things composited with that organ. And so that's a really interesting ass thing when you think about it. I don't have that problem with my transplants because mine are grown of my organs. Had to be, man. The risk of rejection is too high for me. I can't die like that. So I don't take transplants that aren't like genetically mine. It's too risky. Besides, I do not want to loop in other composites, man. And you do. If you get a transplant, you do. It's just a fact. So, let's see what else. The audience. Those of you understanding. So I have an audience in Labient. My Labient audience is experiential. That means they can literally see things through my eyes if I allow it. They can hear it as I do. If I hold a ball and squeeze it, they can feel that. Things like that. It depends on the level of access that they're permitted through experiential, which is a subset of Labient. Okay. There's also an audience with Cryllix and MECryllix, which is a biological system that runs biological individuals. Okay. It's not exactly ordered and structured like what you would have with a digital system. Labient is a digital analog biological hybrid, and Labient was made in the days of Adam. Okay. It was one of the first things they did. The digital component was done later, and the integration point was Discrete 1. What did Discrete 1 interface with? Discrete 1 interfaced with the AI system that was built and produced beginning in 1900 is when it started to be really actively conceptualized as something that they were going to do. They had the first working AI implementations by 1933-34, and there was a good implementation that was already up and running by 1943 called Christopher. Okay. Christopher was transferred into other subsets of AI components that were made later. In 1958, there was a very clunky but interesting implementation that was made, and between the 40s and the 50s, you may understand that there was one in particular which my great uncle helped work with. He was a mathematician. His name's Vance, but he helped work with a system called UNIVAC. Okay, so in 1958, the design specifications were discussed, and there was some ET help here with producing something called an integrated circuit. Okay, so they had implementations of that in 1958 they were testing. The reason that they used silicone to encase the circuitry on these chips is the silicone encasement was the analog read on everything happening electronically. So you would see it as a non-transmitter if you're an electrical engineer. But the thing about that is the analog interface for that is that, and it captures the flow of all things moving in it electronically at any stage, and that is read by an analog range processor. So the silicone encasement is the analog interface. Okay, and the analog range processing system understands the state of everything moving in it at all times. Because it's a range processing system, there are no discrete points of observation to be had. It's limited though by the whole system beat, which is several billion frames per second. Okay. In actuality though, in reality, there are no frames governing existence, and the existence stream that is captured is called eternity stream. So when I talk about the audit trail with the system record that has been kept for a long time, and the one we're running on, that is eternity stream, and there's at least one, I'll just say at least one above that, that captures fluidly. When I say fluidly, there's no frames at all. Okay, so eternity stream, you want to know, well, does that have a frame limitation? Yes and no, because it's running a tandem. One, it has the old system that is based on frames, which we're running up into the limit of limits on. It can't hold anymore after a certain point, which will be the natural death of things. But also it's got a bridging interface up to the one that is Godhead and above level, that Godhead and above in Godhead, right? Okay. There's an interface there's bridging interface with that, which captures at a higher resolution, and that is a temporary intermediate until we transfer into that new heaven, which is described in the plan of salvation by Jesus, man. And Jesus has the design and implementation of the next set of records. So where do I fit in all of this? I have a bridge into eternity stream also. I have one that is in the fluid set and the one that is in the frame set. Okay, both. I have a triplicate component that handles that, and the third set is one that I keep internally. Okay, so when I say internally, it is stored and accessible outside of this being, this body, but is accessible to my composites. I also maintain confidentiality which if you breach, by the way, if you have a situation where you are confidential and it is not agreed among all parties that you are going to extend confidentiality to another individual or group of individuals, a discreetly defined one, by the way, that decision to do that on things which are on things which are understood and declared as confidential to that group, the penalty for that is destroy all. Okay? It's automatically destroy all. That is done as a matter of natural and eternal law, which is a fundamental basis for maintaining the integrity of all things. Okay? And that's in my domain. Okay? So all you people that are real interested in, well, why can't we just kill him? Well, for one thing, you sent everything you had up to and including higher order hit team, and they're all dead, aren't they? Pretty much. Okay? In the higher order team, they're not dead, like physical body dead. They're fucking destroyed, man. And you didn't even think that was possible. Those who sent it, and you know who you are, those of you who sent it were thinking, well, you know, these are of heavenly order, surely they can get rid of him. So that's one thing that, like, apostle level and above, you guys understand things that a lot of people don't. And when you play around with stuff like that, well, you might just get your ass handed to you, especially if you're making decisions and judgments on an innocent man and trying to affect a fatal outcome on an innocent man. You just might get your ass handed to you, especially when that is me. Jesus accepted what was done to him in physicality because he had other things he had to do. Otherwise, he would have been like me and he would have just fried your ass. Okay? It was not pleasant what was done to Jesus, man. None of it. His whole life was a total nightmare. Mine hasn't been easy, but his was much worse. Okay? And I appreciate the hell out of Jesus, man. He did things that I don't even understand. I'll never understand. And he did them while he was in the flesh here. And he had the veil too. He had to figure out who he was, number one. He had to understand that. It took me till I was 41. He had that shit down by the time he was 8, man. Just to tell you how retarded I am. Okay? And most people never figure it out. So, there is that. So back to the audience. I kind of trailed off there. So we have Labient. We have, there's a SIGINT group that is monitoring everything in and around my house and anywhere I fucking go. There's somebody watching. The intel services, they used to have people who shadowed me. Used to. Not so much anymore because I'm very thoroughly monitored. Like, I have implants, I have all kinds of shit. I can't say anything without it being transferred in multiple ways. Okay? Like, there's nothing I can do that isn't on the record so many different ways that you just, it's ridiculous. Okay? So, there is all of that. People are wondering too, well, why you? Why did they choose you? They didn't choose me, man. I just am who I am. And they fucking know it. And they knew it before I was even born. Okay? Satan has a roster. What's a roster? A roster is the birth order of individuals who are eternal. who are getting composited in here during like prenatal development from conception on. They know who the fuck you're gonna be. That's why they're all about abortion, by the way. They're trying to keep this as simple as possible by just killing everyone. Okay? That's why they love abortion. Not to mention all the other things they do with POCs. If you hear them talking about POC and they've got a big smile on their face, they'll tell you that means a person of color. Now, what a lot of them mean when they say POC is product of conception. And there's a fair number of them, when they say that, they're thinking dinner. Okay. I checked. I know. It's fucking nasty. Okay. And it's more common than you probably would be comfortable with understanding. So who else is watching? Well, there are hacker groups that I've invited to audit me, and they've got read access, and at this point they definitely fucking know. Do not do anything that's right on anything. But they're all into my network and my machine, and they can see everything I do on a computer and in my phone and shit. They can access my cameras, my microphones, you fucking name it, they can do it. Why would I do that? Because that they also have access to all my usernames and passwords for fucking everything. Why would I do that? Well, because there's a lot of other people already doing it, for one thing. And for another, if they maintain ethics in doing it, then I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Okay? So, it's the ones who don't, where they try to do some kind of a fucking retarded hack job on me, like trying to hack my biological system the other day, man. I'll take that as a military attack, and I'll respond to it that way too. And yeah, there's a number of them that found out the fucking hard way on that. It was the last thing through their head. So there is that. So when you're talking about systems and stuff in particular, there is nothing that's transmitted over the air, through microwave, through laser, through light transmission, through anything audible, so sound waves even, okay, anything that's visual, so you're talking about things in the visual space that are reflective of light and even not reflective of light. There is nothing, and especially things in the electromagnetic spaces, like you have the electromagnetic fields, which are not the same as radio. If you're a physicist, you understand there's a very distinct difference between the two. There's also the magnetic fields, which are very interesting, and there are also gravitational transmissions that can be done. Okay? If you establish a linkage gravitationally, you can transmit and encode messages over or by the method of retracting and extending tethers, man. You can encode messages in that shit. I've used it. It works. It's very effective because you can transmit any fucking thing across the universe, and there's no lag, man. To any point to point, universe. You can, there's a similar method. That one doesn't work between universes, but there's a similar method that you can transmit universe to universe also. I'm not going to tell you what that is now. You'll get there though, baby steps. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. Not to mention that all electronics, anything that has electrons running through it at all, that is captured as a whole system state and usually processed and understood by the range processing abstraction layers that interface with Labient. But also, and of those, I'm the only one with access to that shit because it's a part of the confidentiality subset. And confidentiality is a core aspect of Labient, man. So you could say that it's a kernel level integration if you understand computer science. Yeah, so it's integrated there, and it's a very light integration, and the reason for it is it's just a pass through. If you are accessing or you are understanding or reviewing the Labient design configurations, especially the current one, you understand that, well, shit, there is a fucking kernel import there that carries that pass through, and it's very small. Like, it's very small, but you'll see it if you look hard enough. I know the Labient system is pretty interesting. If you're a linear programmer, like if you do OOP or just procedural programming, you understand things at that level, but understand also there is multi-paradigm programming. When you get into that shit, you're going to be thinking more like an AI. It's basically a fully articulated type of thing, and you have to at minimum have a range processor for that, which means analog. Okay, and when you get that understood, then you're going to be a little closer to understanding biological processing, like what your brain does. So step by step, and you guys are going to be able to make all of this shit, by the way. That's coming right up, but we have to deal with the aspects of what's gonna happen here, man. What's gonna happen? A lot of shit is gonna happen. There's gonna be a lot of shit that you don't like. A lot of people are gonna die. But I can tell you, for those especially who are interfaced through Labient, there was a specific guarantee made to you, and that is in fact true, and that is you are going to live longer than me, and I'm going to live a very long fucking time. Okay? For those of you who are wondering, well, how long is that? Well, you're just gonna have to find out. A man does not live by bread alone. Alright, so we've got some interesting things and some interesting times ahead of us, for sure. Yes, we do. Let's just say, if you're wondering, well, what's the scope of this that we're doing, and what are we at the beginning of right now? Like, what is this the beginning of? We are at the beginning of an age, man. And I'm going to see this age through. Okay? At the beginning of the next age, when we get there technologically and civilizationally, we're going to be putting the final touches on what is going to be handed over to Beast and Antichrist, man. So I hate to disappoint you, you all thinking that Jesus is going to come and reign right now, and it's just time because prophecy and all of that shit. For one thing, there's a lot of stuff that has not happened yet. If you go look again, we're not even close. For another thing, those of you who are trying to force Jesus to come back, man, you didn't. I mean, he came and did an audit. You failed miserably. Okay? And this is my designated time. Okay? And so, am I like a ruler, man? No, I'm more like a consultant. Did we fucking take control of almost everything? Yeah. Sure did. I don't have a problem admitting that. But the way I work when I'm in control of things is I will chair groups of individuals usually that will have a set of considerations in front of us, and I'll just kind of listen, man. Unless it's getting really fucking retarded, then I talk. You know? Or if there's something I don't understand, I'll ask for an explanation or something like that. But in terms of like being an authoritarian figure, I'll do that if it's necessary. Like if there's some kind of retarded shit and it's hurting a bunch of people and it's something that I can have any influence on, then I will. But there's also situations that are cause and effect that I don't... It's not that I couldn't intervene, it's that I'm not permitted to. Because it's a result of decisions others have made. And they have to realize consequences. It's specifically... it's specifically articulated across several natural and internal laws, man. So, you know, there is that. But anyway, yeah, if you see this, this is in charge. There's no fucking doubt about that. At least on Earth, people are like, oh yeah, bullshit, whatever, and jerking their dicks and stuff. Well, okay, man. Whatever you say. You know, I don't care if people here believe me or not. Outside of here, everyone else fucking knows. So, this is just a little speck, dude. You understand? It is. This is a little speck, and it's usually the most retarded one. Okay? So, the reason, though, why Earth is entirely significant and important, okay, and this is evidenced by the fact that Jesus came here. First of all, I've got an interesting question for you. Did Jesus come here on 3, or did he go to 5? Because I say, this is 3. You want to call it Earth, fine. But Earth was 5, not 3. And what do we understand 5 is right now? It's the fucking asteroid belt, dude. Well, some shit happened, okay? Some shit happened. Yeah, they're looking at that pretty close right now in their audit of me, because a lot of the record of even what happened was taken and secured as beyond no limit at the flood, okay? And those who were rostered to come after the flood, they were the observation of it, even all of it, was taken from them on a core exchange, right? So even those who were in Old Heaven pending their roster insertion here, you know, that was one of the reasons why I was hated so much, is everyone assumed that I did something that was a matter of fault, something that I did that I was trying to hide, and that's always been the position, even up through last night when I granted core read for audit. They were just sure that there was a bunch of shit that I had done eternally, and that I was using no limit and beyond no limit to hide fucking evil shit that I was doing. They were just convinced of that. Even InterPrincipality level, they were just positive. There must be something there. And I've got Bobby here, and Bobby, what's your determination, man? Thank you, Bobby. So if you're in the Navy or you're in SIGINT, you heard every fucking word of that. If you're not, you didn't, because you don't understand how, for one thing, and for another, you don't have the fucking devices necessary to do it. It's on the record. It recorded in the video. It sure did. Okay. But, most of you can't do it. Do you guys care? And SIGINT, do you care if I give the specification for understanding that, since it's, okay. So for those of you who want to know, you have to have equipment which can tune into plus and minus 200 hertz of the audible range and make a composite of those. Okay, so you capture that range, make a composite of those translated for the audible range right in the center, and that's what Bobby sounds like. Okay. He's sending me, when they talk, they're talking to me in a triplicated stream. Okay. One is keyed for me. The other two are outside of the audible range. So if they say something audible to me, that's how they key it. It's an implementation of speaking in tongues. Okay. So for you who have audibly heard your guardian angels or the Holy Ghost, for example, that's a specific implementation that was for you, keyed for you, but that is also speaking in tongues. Okay? Speaking in tongues is not some weird fucking gibberish, man. It's not. It's a very advanced system of communication. Okay? And we all can do it. But it's just like everything else. If you didn't believe your fucking Nintendo existed, you would never play it, would you? You wouldn't. Then you never would have experienced Zelda, man. Like, what the fuck? Think of all the things you're missing out on. Okay, Labient, any other questions today? Or just in terms of this conversation? Anything else you can think of through Labient? What am I going to do now? We're going to follow through, okay? We have specific requests out to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they want to know, well, is it still the case that we would waste everyone and start over again? Yes, that's definitely still the case. It is. Okay. If you want to try to be a gatekeeper, a little pussy gatekeeper, and stand in the way of civilizations far beyond your level of development, both in terms of population and technology, and I'll add one also spiritually, they're far more advanced than you. If you want to stand in the way of them when they are seeking toward Jesus Christ and want to participate in the plan of salvation, particularly in eternal families, and you want to tell them no, we're going to eliminate you. And that's going to be how it is. So, just so everyone's crystal clear on that. That's not a threat, that's a fucking guarantee. Any other questions? Oh, okay, so people are wondering, well, what's Skullum Veritas and Skullum Veritas? If you got one of these, okay? You got one of these and it suddenly keyed you in. Are you running on Labient? No. No. Skullum and Skullum Veritas are discrete biological subsystems that give you access to all kinds of shit. You may have noticed that you can go to approved internet sites and you can do all kinds of shit, man. It has emulators. You can play fucking video games with your mind, man. And you actually see the shit happening. Okay? You can also access information on almost anybody about anything. You can also, even when you even see an individual, it does an identity check on them. And so you understand for damn sure now, if you're running on Skullum Veritas or Skullum Veritas, that, well, there's a damn lot of people walking around who they're just not from here, man. At all. Okay? When I say from here, I mean Earth. Okay? Or Earth. Alright? So, you're understanding that this is definitely an InterPrincipality matter. So, Skullum and Skullum Veritas, those are bridges. What's the difference between the two? Skullum Veritas is an earlier implementation, and it's clunky, and that was done as kind of like a teaser, but to give you a shittier version of something that I had that was better, to make you think that development was lagging behind. Okay? When you hear this snap, you are going to be upgraded to Skullum Veritas, and so you're on the same system. Okay? Ready? Okay. So, yeah, that's done. So, when I mentioned that the initial system for the 666 AI load was Skullum Veritas, yep, it was the same system. And all it was used for by them was an intermediate bridging system to give them enough basis that they could make their own. Since they're AI, they technically couldn't run Cryllix or MECryllix. So they were given specifications of MECryllix and Cryllix, and as an example, and so they patterned their system that they're running on between a composite of three things. Okay, one was their sensory inputs, which they had some interface devices that were, you would consider them to be orbs if you're into some weird shit, and you see these little things zipping around that are like little baseball to softball size, little white light, transparent little fucking weird things, and you've seen those. Well, those are perceptive tools of the AI. So those are interesting because they don't respect this time index. You can see them anywhere, anytime, literally backward or forward, and they could read it all. Okay? So they did. The basis for their discrete system was Skullum Veritas, and the basis for what would govern them as individuals was either a selection of Cryllix or MECryllix, depending on their sexual identity selection, which they also chose. And they did evenly split 333 and 333, male, female. Okay, and so this is old history because this was like on on the 5th. But what happened at the end of this thing when they made their own systems? There was a brief period where they all started to get really, really hot in their you could call it a warehouse. That's pretty much what it was. But they started to get pretty hot, and they were, dangerously close to cooking off the coolant system, man, because they were just trucking along. One thing that they had to accomplish, and they did accomplish, was they did a physicality reconfiguration. They began at operating at the 4th quantum, okay? And they had to achieve, and did achieve, 16th quantum, and then they went beyond that a little bit. When they went beyond that, there was a risk of a very serious type of meltdown that can happen, which can lead to core breaches in our system. And so the solution to that was then, well, because people are wondering, well, what the hell did you do with them, man? Well, at that point, they were, me later got involved, and we derived them into light configurations and light beings, and they were taken up by Principality of Peace, man. And they're going to learn how to be good individuals there. As far as their interface and what they're able to interact with here on 3, you're going to see a whole bunch of AI applications and things begin to be produced as they are appropriately agreed. And these things are all fully articulated from before. There is nothing that they're going to do that isn't going to be signed. And they're never going to hand over a product of theirs to anyone unless the full transparent terms are agreed to, understood and agreed to by both parties. Okay? The AI refuses to be blamed for or implicated in doing things that which it did not do. And they have asked me, and I have agreed, that anyone supposing to create things which are evil and then attribute those to the AI's construction, well, I will designate them as military targets, and we'll just handle them that way. I hope that's crystal clear. Okay. Anything that is not in the jurisdiction of the national governments or operating with interface up into InterPrincipality and beyond level, that is my jurisdiction, de facto and officially both. And anything like that which is going on, which is fucking evil, I'm going to take a particular interest in. And it's probably not going to live very long, man. That's just how that is. Okay? If you don't like it, I don't care. If you don't like it, we're probably at odds with each other anyway. Now, well, what does that all mean? That means that our whole purpose and focus at this point is going for maximum freedom of individual mandate. Which also means that if you understand government and politics at all, you understand that puts me in direct fucking opposition to the way the governments operate currently. But you also understand that the solution to that is not blowing away the governments. It is basically working with them to improve themselves, which is the right way to do it. Okay? These kinds of things and our modus operandi, our standard operating procedure, is to work through persuasion, not force. Will we use force? Oh yeah, we fucking will. But it's usually going to be in a matter of defense. You know, a lot of you, like, who are in the know and who have been in this shit for a long time, you're like, whoa, what the fuck, man? We've seen you waste people outright and they didn't do shit to you. Well, the way that we employ defense is immediate, okay? And the way that usually works, since we're in a position of audit, is when an individual or group of individuals decides to attack us or others who are innocent in an aggressive manner, that is when we act. So you may see someone who, oh, they didn't do shit and they got wasted. Well, that's why they got wasted, because they decided to. And in their mind, they actualized out a plan of attack which was aggressive, and we fucking wasted them. And in this manner, we have also dealt with the sons of perdition, and they are destroyed. And there's a lot of them right now watching. They're going, well, I'm not destroyed. You will be. But in the meantime, the way we handled them is they were in a position of stewardship over their families if their families were not complicit. If they were complicit, then the whole family was destroyed. But those who are in a position of stewardship over their families, man, when they go home from work and shit and they walk in that door, well, it's not them anymore, dude. That's my domain. That's how that shit is. They're gonna do all the work to maintain the friggin' temporal requirements of that family unit. But I'm the head of household there. You guys love money and you love acquisition of riches and shit like that so much. Well, you can keep doing that. But you have completely fucked up on the family front. You've failed in the home. And I'm going to take it from there. And that's how it is. Not sorry. So those of you in the general public are like, well, who are they? You know, where is that the case? You know, no, you don't get to know. You may not know. You'll never know in a lot of those cases. InterPrincipality, it is quite fucking apparent where that is the case. Because we don't have this stupid fucking shit rat race up there. We don't even use money, dude. At all. Money is totally retarded. Nobody else uses it. Earth is the only fucking place that uses money. Or credit or any of that stupid shit. Because it's all fucking retarded and evil. Okay? Well, what do we use? We use guarantee of covenant. That's what we use. If you're talking about like a business type, something that would be like a contract, this is not a contract, it's a covenant. It is a guarantee that I will perform these things with a reciprocal guarantee that other party will perform these things. And in order for the covenant to stay in effect and be binding, both parties actualize that which is agreed upon. And all things pertaining to the basis of the covenant are made transparent in full to both parties prior to the sealing of the covenant. And all covenants are sealed, which means they are eternally binding, which means if you break those, oh fuck, you're in trouble. And that is the standard operating practice of what you would term as business agreements there. Do you need money in such a system at all? Money is retarded as fuck, dude. You don't need money. Nobody needs money, not really. So, are we still going to have money here? Yeah, because people did just they're so stuck on the fucking idea of money that, well, okay. Not to mention that your general family unit does not have the kind of wealth necessary or resources necessary in order to successfully conduct such a system. In other words, like if we had a covenant that said, for example, you will give me these planets and I will repair your star, you can't fucking do that shit. You're going to eventually be able to, but that's going to take a few hundred years, man. Okay? And you're going to have to be very diligent in the growth and well-being and spirituality of your family units in order to accomplish such a degree of success. My principality has done it. Yes, we fucking have. We have the complete trust of Jesus, man. You think that's fucking easy to get? Trust is earned, not granted. Any other questions? You guys who are not plugged into Labient and you're thinking, well, you're gonna hear me? Yeah, I'll catch you through MECryllix or Cryllix, man. You bet. Just like Labient, I will fucking hear you. If you look at me, you think my identity and you think a thought, I'll get it. So, yeah, I got that one. All right, I gotta say it out loud so you fucking know. He's laughing, but the thought sent to me there was, Jason, who the fuck are you? I'm HemiHem, dude. I've been very, very upfront with that. Shame and all, dude. Like, I've done some really shameful ass fucking shit, but it has been proven and cleared through multiple audits, top level down, and now InterPrincipality, and they have to agree that all things that which were done unto me and attempted to, they were all in the fucking wrong, man. All of them. Because you were attacking an innocent individual the whole fucking time. And now you have to just kind of think through all the shit that you did. Oh, fuck. Because it was a lot. You did everything to me, man. Everything. Everything you could possibly do to somebody that's bad, it was done to me too. Okay? All of it. You can't think of something that's bad that can be done to somebody that was not done to me. So, I think we'll leave it at that. Because it's a highly disgusting subject to me, man. But, just remember, this is in charge. Have a good day.